Things is about to get stranger. Rob, it is the day before Canada Day, and season 4 of the Upside Down of Stranger Things is about to go down tomorrow. You just told me before we went on, the Duffer Brothers said multiple characters are going to die. I think you've called one. I think it makes sense. Look, I like the characters on this show. The problem with this show, Rob, I think we said it on a Super Tuesday or whatever we did last week. The problem with this show is they're really great at creating new characters that you love. And that's the problem. It's like they introduce new characters. You're like, oh, these are great characters. And now there's just too many of them. So I think it's time for them to go, probably. It's going to suck to see some of them go, I suppose. But at the same time, they've run their course. Anyway, Rob, this is Casual Friday on a Thursday. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking about some Stranger Things. It's less than 24 hours away, and I'm getting pretty excited.
Yeah, we're coming. Are you going to stay up till? Does it drop on midnight or 3 a.m.? What time does it drop here? Do you know?
I think for Eastern it would probably be 3 a.m. And since I'm working at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, I don't think I'll be staying up. Unless
That's probably.
I can stay up until 3 a.m., watch the full 4 hours or whatever it's going to be, and then go straight to work.
Probably for the best. You're probably for the best.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I'm going to watch it. I think I'm going to. The plan is to watch it tomorrow night on my projector outside. I don't know how many I'm going to watch at that amount of time. I'll probably just watch half of one, but I'm going to watch it outside.
Well, if you do that outside, I'm coming over.
You might make the 10th hour of it. It's 4 hours long, I believe, in total. This whole finale. It's going to be insane. So I don't think I'm going to get to watch all of it because that's a little bit much. To watch all. For me to watch all once, you know me. I'm not. I can't watch a lot of. I'm not a binger to begin with, and 4 hours for me. That's like what 4 1-hour episodes. That's like 2 to 3 days for me to watch. I'm old and I can't get away with it.
James, it's longer than all of Obi-Wan, I believe.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan, and you know that I'm a fan of short, but I think Obi-Wan needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, especially in the Reva character. Hi, Argyle Smith. Hope you're well. But I love Stranger Things. Let's go back, because you rewatched it. I want to rewatch it from the beginning, and I just talked to our friend Brock, who I do Rebel Scum podcast with. And he rewatched season 1, and I said, does it connect? I asked you the same question, but you're useless. But he brought up a good point in season 1. They get Will out with the clash. So he kind of thinks that Vecna might be the one who got Will in season 1. And I forgot all about that. I like the way that they've kind of stuck with music throughout now. That's kind of like the through line is music to kind of maybe defeat the Upside Down. But you think that, well, you said this to me, and I think I am fully on board with this. And okay, so I guess we should say there will be spoilers for the volume 1 of Stranger Things season 4 and before that. Obviously, no spoilers for volume 2 because we haven't seen it yet. This is a pregame show for that. But you brought up the fact that you think Will's going to die, and I think that makes complete sense. I think Will, he's the most. The thing with Will dying, because you could kill any of the other characters off. You could just kill them off. That's just how this show works. You can barb them all, right? Just kill them off. The thing with Will, though, is I think his death could have the most substance, especially with one season to come, right? His death could absolutely have the most impact on the story and the characters, but especially the overall story, because the one thing that for me, Rob, that would hold back on him being killed is he kind of started Stranger Things. Like the Will character is what started Stranger Things. But aside from that, he seems like the one that probably should go.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the kids, that's probably the one I could most see. Like, Max, we kind of already teased that and resolved it a bit. 11, I mean, she kind of died at the end of season 1 already, sort of, and she already came back, right?
11's got to make it to the last season anyway.
Yeah, but she still has to be the main weapon, right, to defeat the Upside Down in general. Mike and Dustin, I don't really see them going either.
Mike could, though. Sorry, Rob. Mike, I want to talk to you about Mike, because Mike, we'll get into a little. I'll let you finish. But I think Mike, I think, is up there with Will in what he could do.
Well, yeah, because in general, it's like Mike this season in like the first 7 episodes, he hasn't really had a lot to do. He's just literally been like tagging along with everything else, right?
And him and 11 had that moment where that's one where one of the characters will regret that, right? Where they never had the conclusion to that. So yeah, like there's an opportunity, and he hasn't had much to do, like you said. So and he's very important to both Will and 11. And Will started it all, and 11 was on the other end of starting it all, right? They're both kind of there.
Mhm.
So I mean, Mike, he's a glue for those characters that
He's
could
the least relevant he's been in any season
that
of Stranger Things
absolutely. And
this
if he
season.
dies, then it's like, well, he did they run out? His death, the weakness of his death could feel to me like maybe they just ran out of things for him to do, and they were like, well, he's the one that we could get rid of. But anyway, he could still, but at the same time, the character's so strong with the other characters that that impact be felt greatly in the remainder of this season and the final season, season 5.
I think whatever it is, if they by chance kill one of the two kids, one of the two kids, 6 kids, I guess. I I I think they're all going to come together before one of them dies, if it's going to happen. Like I think they're still going
Mm-hmm.
to, like, they've been separated the whole season, right? Will has been away from all of them. Mike was with Dustin and Lucas a little bit at the beginning, but not really, right? But I still gonna think they're going to want to bring them all back together, especially like 11 and Max and all that type of stuff, especially with their relationship that they've built since the beginning of season 3.
Yeah, definitely. One thing you mentioned though was with Max and how Max kind of had that moment where she almost died. And one thing, and I hope she doesn't die, and not just because I'm like, oh, I need Max to live, because one thing I hate, well, Star Wars is really good at it now with faking out deaths. But Finn in the sequel trilogy, in the Force Awakens, he kind of dies, and they're like, no, he's still breathing. And then they have a fake out death again in The Last Jedi. And then they triple down on it and they have a fake out death for him again in the third movie. And for me, for a storytelling
Well,
perspective, and the one strong suit that Stranger Things has versus the sequels is the Duffer Brothers are overseeing all of it. And it's like you can't do that, right? You can't be like, oh, you almost died and then save them and then kill them. You can do that there's a different way to do it, but the Max scene was so powerful with running up the hill. God, that song is everywhere. But like it was so powerful that if you actually kill her now, like that scene is useless now. It's pointless now. I mean, there are other ways to fake deaths that and then have them die after that work. But the Max one, because of how powerful that scene was, and because of what happened, you can't you can kill her next season. You can't kill her even next season. Honestly, Rob, I think is tough because that moment's so strong. It's such a strong, powerful moment. Before I saw that episode, I saw people talking about they're like, oh my god, that moment. But that's one of those moments that I think is going to stick with people for a long time. And so I just think I think that character needs to be safe from death, at least until 25 years later when it comes back to town or Pennywise and then kills them all. But other than that, I think she's safe for now.
yeah, I think so too. And it's like, yeah, they're still like keeping that thread that she's not out of the woods quite yet, because she keeps having to listen to the song and she's worried that
Which is a
he
great
might
thing, yeah.
he might reestablish that connection again to try to get her. But I do think that it's like you built up to such a strong moment in general, and I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on her entirely. Oh, and you got Dustin there.
You
I
got me this.
yeah. Where's Dart?
He's over there somewhere.
Somewhere over there. Okay. Um,
This was season 2. I really like season 2. I know people had problems with it. I think for me, it's the weakest season of them all. I think, and I still think season 3 might. We have to wait till the next 2 episodes, but I think season 3 for me is the all around most fulfilling, solid. I think you think this season is right, like because we watched them all. Did you
yeah,
say this? Yeah.
but before getting into season 4 and rewatching all, season 3 was my favorite. I mean, going back and watching all from the beginning, 3 is definitely like the most corny and like comedic of all, least horror
Dude,
inspired.
that's sorry, Rob. The thing that's great about it is it does that, but then it adds that horror when it needs to. And I asked my nieces and nephew, who are, one's like a teenager now, like 14. Anyway, they're like 10. The youngest is going to be 10, and the 10, 12, 14, let's say their ages are. They love Stranger Things, and I asked what their favorite seasons were. One of them said two, or two of them said two. It was weird, but then the oldest said three, and this is before season 4 came out, and I said, why three? And she said, because it gave us what the 80s really was. And I lived through the 80s, and I said, no, there were no demons. But I mean, there were a lot of demons, but they weren't. But I was like, that's interesting. And what you're saying kind of adds up. It's like season 3 was so strong because I think that they understood their characters were their gravy, right? They understood, like, the characters are so good. And then they added the Maya Hawke character, and it was like, she was such a great character and such a great addition. And they just kind of let them have fun. And I think that's why season 3 for me was, I liked it so much, was it was almost like, what can I compare it to? It felt like I was hanging out with people while they were doing, like, having a good time, but there was a bad stuff happening. Like, it felt good. It was comforting. It was like comfort food, right? It was like fast food. It was fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. This season, all said and done, might be the strongest, but I mean, season 1, it all hinders on season 1, which is probably start to finish. I mean, standalone, it's the best season they had. I mean, because even then, Rob, it felt like season 1 ended. They didn't need a season 2. They kind of added the Will thing at the very end that allowed them to make season 2.
Yeah, and like season 1 was obviously, the most buzzworthy season of them all. Like that was the one that kind of took the summer that year, and I believe it was 2016. It was like all these movies were coming out, yet Stranger Things was the number one thing that people were talking about. Season 2, I mean, it's literally it's much better than I gave it credit for, especially when I rewatched it. But the episode that still does not work for me, and especially now since like they've literally done nothing with it, right? They have not gone back to that standalone 11 episode where she goes out to, I believe it was Chicago, to meet 8. I believe that's what it was, right? Her number.
Yeah, I feel like, see, I had no problem with that episode, but caveat. The reason I had no problem with that episode is because it's a binge watching show. Stranger Things, because we just talked about Obi-Wan a little bit ago. Stranger Things does something better than Obi-Wan, or probably most of the Disney. I haven't seen the Marvel stuff, but most of them do. And that is, it knows that it's a binge show. They know that you're going to watch it all or most of it at once. And so that episode worked for me because I actually watched that one, and I think the next one side by side. I mean, I don't watch more than 2 in a row, really, but I think I'm so it benefited from, okay, they're connected, they're taking place at the same time, which only works in a binge show. If it was a weekly show like Obi-Wan or like a regular network show, that episode probably would have.
It would have been worse. You're right.
It would have been a lot worse. Yeah.
The reaction to it all. I think my reason again was like they ended on such a strong moment in that episode before with the demo dogs coming out and all that stuff, right? And the Hawkins Science Center being completely demolished by all that stuff, and then it going to that episode. However, I think I like it even less now because of the fact that it's like you did that one, and it was almost like you were giving you a building block that they're going to pay off later, and now it's been nearly 2 seasons after that, and there's still no payoff, and they're not even setting up for a payoff even.
I firmly believe, Rob, that the reaction that episode got is why they cause them, because what they're doing now, like in what we've seen now in this season, I think they could have, like, it works perfectly with that storyline in the sense that you could see the past, right? She could have been in that storyline, right? 8 could have been in this storyline. And so I think they kind of, whatever they had it planned for 8, they've kind of reworked and made it now Vecna and all these other ones. I think that's the plan. But also, you say, like, she says she leaves when she's young. So, but I think they're kind of retconning in a way, but they're allowing that. And I think I do think that the reaction that episode got kind of caused them to rethink it. I mean, look, we can say whatever we want, but George Lucas did that with the prequels the entire time he wrote them, right? It's like Jar Jar's the main character, and by the end he says like nothing, and he barely says anything in Revenge of the Sith. His character, kind of gets slimmed down. So I think, and it's good. You gauge the reaction, right? People watch it like, I didn't really dig that character. They're like, okay, we don't need you anymore. They forgot Will's birthday, which I have to say is one of my biggest pet peeves of television since I was a kid in the 80s, Rob, watching sitcoms mostly, was when they had a birthday episode. Because you knew in the next year they weren't going to do a birthday episode. It was like they just wanted to do. It's like there's no. I hate birthday episodes on TV shows. They never serve a purpose other than that one episode in that one season needs them to have a birthday. And I'm talking from like my least favorite show to my favorite show. Whenever there's a birthday episode, I'm always like, this is stupid, because they're not going to come back to this birthday ever again.
Yeah, birthday episodes, especially with sitcoms, are usually a little like sketchy and stuff like that. One of my favorite birthday episodes, and it wasn't really a full-on birthday episode, was actually in Breaking Bad. And the reason why I like that birthday episode so much is because the whole Breaking Bad
was it Walt's birthday?
Yes, Walt's birthday.
Yeah, but Walt's birthday. So sorry, Rob. Walt's birthday is different because they actually go back to that. Like they continuously tell you when it's Walt's birthday. Anyway, go on.
Well, it's because also Breaking Bad's 6-season show. However, those 6 seasons take place essentially over the course of 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Or just past it. And it's like when they do the birthday episode, they do it in season 5. Sorry, I said 6 seasons. It's 5 seasons, but I keep thinking it's 6 seasons because they split 5 in half. It's 5 seasons, and they go back to it in season 5, and that's almost like the representation of the amount of time that's passed amongst it all. And from the point where, because I believe he's also celebrating his birthday in the first episode, and it's like just showing how much the character has changed over the course of 1 year.
See, I binged that show. I watched it through like a few months after it already aired. Erin, my wife, started watching it. She goes, "You gotta watch Breaking Bad with me." I'm like, I said, "Watch season 1." So I pretended to watch season 1. Right. Like I faked watched it. I put it on and I fast forward every episode. And then I couldn't do that lie anymore, because then I caught up to where she was. So let's watch it together. And I was like, oh yeah. And I actually really liked it. We just started watching Better Call Saul. We're on like episode 2 of the first season or 3 of the first season. It's
a slow burn, Better Call Saul, because the show really changes as the show goes along, because it's like Mike's in the show in Better Call Saul in the first season, but he's barely in it, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like he's the guy. Yeah.
It's a lot more about the legal stuff and about Chuck and Jimmy and all that type of stuff, more so than that. But it's like as more characters get introduced, as you can probably guess based off of Breaking Bad, that the Mike character becomes more and more prevalent. Yeah. And so it's like if you were to randomly watch a season 1 episode and then watch like a season 6 episode like they're in now, that would be just all over the place. Like,
yeah, that's what I figured.
You'd get whiplash.
I bet I'll get there eventually. I think Gilligan's a genius when it comes to that guy. Just because Breaking Bad, like I was like, yeah, Breaking Bad, whatever. Guy in his underwear making. That's not everything about the synopsis of that show is nothing I'm interested in whatsoever. But the execution was, at least from season 2 on, was fantastic. I did think the last season though. Yeah, whatever. It was a good season. It was better than most final seasons of a lot of shows. We'll say that. But I thought when I watched it, because I watched it all, it had already ended. When season 4, I guess, ended, I kind of felt like I was kind of content at that point. You know what I mean? Like when I don't know how we're talking about Breaking Bad now, but when it got to that point, I was content. I was like, I'm fine.
When they resolved the Gus storyline,
yeah, and then it kept going, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. This felt like more like a PS. I didn't really care for the movie though. Was it El Camino or whatever? The movie. I didn't really care for that movie that much. I was like, I could have. It didn't really do anything for me.
I didn't love it either. I think I more loved it because I think like the day or two before that movie came out, that's when Robert Forster died, and it's like this is one of his last projects, so it was like kind of cool.
He was
like,
good.
It was almost the Robert Forster stuff got me.
Yeah.
I remember more than I do the actual movie because
It felt like a made for TV movie based
yeah,
on a show. That's what it felt
yeah,
like, and it was like whatever. Anyway, let's go back to Stranger Things.
yeah.
Season 4. I this season I've absolutely been loving. The one thing I'm funny that I've been saying though is I haven't talked about this a lot, but my wife is pregnant and she can't sleep. Like she has insomnia because of it. But Stranger Things, Rob, you put this show on, 2 seconds in, she's gone. Actually, that's not true. I found out the reason why Obi-Wan Kenobi is more successful than Stranger Things in my mind is because the episodes are shorter, because she can stay awake for an entire episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But if we start the second episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, she's gone. Stranger Things episodes are too long. She can only get through like a 38, 40 minutes of Stranger Things, and then she is out like a light. It took us like a week to watch an episode. It was very frustrating because I'm like, there are episodes. I think that this season started slow in a sense that it was kind of just like bringing things together, like, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, but so she was out, and I was like, and then it got to the point. I'm like, oh my god, I love this episode. And I look over, and she's snoring, and I'm like, I gotta pause it. And so you pause it, and I'm waiting, and social media. Luckily, my Instagram account doesn't follow much things. Because the one thing I hate about these binging shows is within seconds the whole thing can be spoiled for you, and you're like, but I haven't started it yet. But anyway, so it took me a while to watch this season, but absolutely, I really loved it. I think, like I said, the characters are fantastic. Like they introduced Eddie, that new character was Eddie, right? The new character, the Hellfire Club,
The leader of
and
the Hellfire Club. Yeah.
And I was like, oh god. And then I was like, oh, this guy's amazing. And then there's that one like chubby guy, and I'm like, this guy needs a spin-off show because he's fantastic. I like all of his. They're really good at the. I didn't care for the. How did you feel about the jock? I didn't care about the jock. I know he's supposed to be a play on '80s jocks characters, but it just like, and I'm going to wait for my overall judgment until the end of the season or series for that matter. If he makes it that far, who knows? But I just feel like for me right now, his character felt like one note, and I was like, I'm not. He was the one that I wasn't thinking, because Billy was a character that in season 2 I didn't care for, but I thought he was a little bit better of a character. But season 3, Billy became like my favorite character. You knew he was dying right now, but he became like my favorite character in season 3 because I thought they had a lot of fun with him. Like Billy in season 3, when he's like that cocky lifeguard at the beginning, is some of the funniest stuff. I don't care who you are. That stuff is brilliant.
Yeah, Billy was a good one. Like he was like one I didn't care for at first at all. Like I only liked him because I was like, oh, he's the Red Ranger from the Power Rangers movie.
Underrated movie, the Power Rangers movie. But Rob, I did not grow up much with Power Rangers. I was like a year too old for Power Rangers. But that movie is a good movie until like the final little bit. But it's really good until the final little bit.
Until Dunkin' Donuts becomes a little too prevalent in that movie.
The ending, it's kind of like Transformers, first Transformers movie I love, and then there's like a moment it hits, and I'm like, stop loving this right now. When it's about anyway, whatever. Go on, Rob.
Yeah, so with Billy, and it was like, and Dicker Montgomery, like he was good in the role and stuff like that. He was a good dick and all that type of stuff. But the character didn't start becoming great until towards the end of season 2. Yeah. And that was like when he had the whole father moment, and you got a little bit more depth on his character. How his father's clearly abusive to him, and also like the memeable moment, and the one that they even created a Funko Pop of was when he was hitting on Mike's mom. When
they made a Funko. I didn't see that Funko. I would have got that. You got me this one. I would have got that Funko for sure.
Yeah, it was a 2-pack Funko Pop of the both, and Mike's mom with like whatever it was, her dress like partially down and stuff like that. Clearly.
Oh my god, no way.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But it was like those two moments that seemed like that really turned the Billy character around, and then they started developing him in season 3 even more, and getting him involved with the Upside Down, and that stuff really improved him.
As soon as he went into that shed, or garage, I was like, son of a gun, they're gonna kill my favorite character.
Yeah, and now they got Jason in this season, who's really built up. Like I think, like when you look at him on the page, he seems very boring. Like he wouldn't seem great, but I think it's his performance that's really elevating the character as of right now. Especially when I rewatch it from the beginning now too. There's a lot of subtlety to his acting, especially like when he's trying to find Dustin because Lucas just blew him off, and he interacts with Lucas's sister. So he's trying to find out like where they are. Like there's a lot of good subtlety there because she literally has a line where she says like it's like, oh, Dustin, I not only know that guy, I bled with that guy, and then it cuts to him for his reaction. Like it's like he's taking this literally when she's saying this and all this stuff, and he's really good in the role. It's
Yeah, he
just
is. I'm not arguing
yeah,
that.
yeah. I have some theories that we'll get to a little bit later about where I think that character is going to go. But yeah, it's and then when we go back to Eddie as well, I think he especially when I rewatch it as well, he's really good, especially off the bat, especially when he has that scene with Chrissy in the woods where she
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
wants
yeah.
the drugs.
I
You
think that's
see,
when I think that's when I was like, oh, I like this character. Damn it.
yeah. No, and it's through those. It's like he's like a building character as you start liking him, especially
Mm-hmm.
when he's after he's already met up with Dustin and his friends and how they're going to help him. His constant frantic calls on the radio as he's like, "Hey, remember me?" It's
Yeah.
like I'm over here and the jocks are here trying to get me. Help me, help me, right? Or just because he wants a 6-pack of beer to be over there, just to take the edge off a little bit. He's a really good character. Where his
Yeah.
character's gonna go, I'm not sure either. But
I read a thing where he says he wants to be in season 5, but again, I mean, if his character dies, he can't be in season 5 because he's the one of my favorite characters is from season 2, and he was Bob. I was a huge Bob fan, and as soon as I remember the season started, and we watched it late, but I tried to avoid spoilers as much as possible. I remember watching it, and every time we'd watch an episode, I'm like, my wife would be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Bob's gonna die." The whole season, I'm like, Bob's gonna die. But Eddie, I gotta tell you, I can't get a sense, and this is, you know, to the writing, credit to the writing. I can't get a sense if they're gonna kill him off or not. At one point, I'm like, oh, they're gonna kill him off, but he lasted a long time so far, and I don't know. I think I mean, I think he still could be on the chopping block. The problem is, though, for me, Rob, is when you have a new character, they're the easiest ones to off because we don't have as much as emotional connection to them as we do the original cast. So I think it would be it's a stronger statement if you kill the original cast. But Eddie, I think he's grown on a lot of people, and I think he is you could get rid of him because he's so new. But the other problem is they have to somehow prove him innocent too, right? If he's to survive, because I mean, unless they blow the lid off of Hawkins and everyone is aware of the Upside Down, which I think would make season 5 a weird season where people might not be totally into it. I think you've got to figure that's your biggest hurdle is to figure out is what to do with Eddie if you're not going to kill him.
well, I think you've opened the door there, so I'm going to get into kind of what my theory was in just a moment.
Get
But
in there.
in general, when you're talking about like these new characters that they introduce and now it's easy to kill them off. I mean, it would have been easy in season 3, I think, for Stranger Things just to decide to kill Robin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you newly introduced her. She's got a lot of pizzazz. She's got a lot of character, really good chemistry with Steve. And it would have been easy to just have her as cannon fodder in it. But instead, they kept her around. And it's like, yeah, she has really good chemistry and really good interaction with Steve. But now you've kept her around, and now she's got this really good rapport with Nancy and stuff like that, right? I've never been a huge fan of the Nancy character, but it's like there's something about her having another like girlfriend like Robin and stuff like that, and that's really opened up her character, I think, a little more with a little bit more creativity and a little bit more fun that character normally has. So that's something that I like. So I think Eddie could wind up being the same version of Robin. They could keep him around. However, and this is where I get into my theory about this. And this ties directly into whether you think Hawkins is going to freak out or not. Jason, the jock, his character, he's just had such an interesting version of it, where he just doesn't believe in this type of stuff. He thinks this is the Hellfire Club's a Hulk cult, and that they're the ones that are killing these people, right? Like in some type of way. And now, and towards the end, he started believing that not Steve, Eddie. Is directly like influenced by the devil and whatnot.
Yeah.
However, and the resolution to that story can simply be for him to have a direct interaction with the Upside Down or someone from the Upside Down to realize, oh, I'm wrong about the Hellfire Club. However, I think it's going to be a little bit harder than that, harder edge than that, because the way that, especially rewatching it, his character was, it's like it starts off as just he's this guy that's doing a pep talk before the finals game, and for the team, and saying that we're gonna surpass everything that Hawkins has gone through, and we're gonna win this championship, and this is gonna be for Hawkins, right? Like that's how his character basically starts off, and then it's a slippery slope from there, right? Like Chrissy dies, and he doesn't know the exact situation of it all, but he knows that Eddie's in some way involved in it, and Hellfire Club is something that he's involved with as well. And then it's like it just keeps going on a slippery slope from there, because now he's trying to find him. He convinces all of his friends to join him in this party of the group to find it, and then he witnesses firsthand his friend go up and get killed in that type of way. So it keeps getting like further and further, and his level of madness like keeps going down. So I have a feeling that his character, like when we're talking about a death in it, I think that his character may very well, and I will find out about the Upside Down, but not before he does something horrible. And I have a feeling that he's going to kill one of our main characters in order for it to happen. It could be Eddie, or it could be somebody else. I hope it's not Steve. It better not be Steve. I will be upset if it's Steve.
I'm going to tell you why I think Steve's fine right now, because a billboard went up, or a fake billboard. Netflix tweeted it out, and it said "Protect Steve at all costs" or something like that. And I just think like I never thought it, because Steve's already been protected. Like we're all together again, right? So I never thought of that. Wait, are we all together? No, Nancy, whatever. Who cares? Look, Steve's
Nancy
fine.
was with Steve in like the Upside Down, like the last we saw them.
Yeah, so
they didn't make the transfer over like Eddie and Robin did.
Steve, I think killing Steve now is weak, to be honest. I don't think he's the character you kill off now. You had a fake out almost with him where he got pulled into the Upside Down. Season 1 is when you really had to kill him off. I think I don't think I mean, it could happen. I'm not, because I don't know. Obviously, it could happen, but I don't think volume 2 of this season is the right time for him to go. I think he's got to. If he dies, it's going to be a very heroic death, because he's the babysitter. So he will die. I think he will die at some point. He's going to die protecting the kids on this series, though. Like that's going to be his thing, is he's going to die. But I do think though, Rob, though, that the fact that they tweeted that out, it kind of is like, well, why would you like? I don't have fear in him. Why would you tweet that out? It's almost like they want to deflect us to Steve to take us away from the real victim.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I had some worry about the the bites and the pound of flesh that the little flying bats took from him and stuff like that. And obviously they were trying to make it seem like he survived that and so forth. But I was not. I was thinking in the back of my head, it's like, oh, there might be more to this. Maybe they did something more to him than I thought they did. So, but at the same time, like, I just think when it comes to Jason and the Jock, I think something's going to happen. I think
that's good.
the slippery slope that he's been going on isn't going to be just resolved by him seeing the Upside Down firsthand, and that that's going to be the resolution of it all. I think he's going to take the life out of somebody that we love, and it could be Eddie, or it could be somebody else.
It's Eddie. It's got to be Eddie, Dustin, or Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas could be one of them, but I don't know. That's I'm not sure if they're done with the resolution with him and Max, though. I think
I don't think so. I just think I think realistically, though, if you think of the character and then you look at who he's going after, right? It's Eddie, it's Dustin, and then there's the betrayer, Lucas. Like those are the ones that he could go after. Yep. I don't. If it was the final season, I'd say fine, but it's not the final season, so I just feel like Dustin and Lucas should be off the table for now. I really think Will and Mike are your two dispendable main characters at this point. Maybe Nancy. Here's the thing. What's Will's brother's name? I forgot Will's brother. He's also he's disposable as well. And the reason why is because of his relationship with Nancy. They have to figure something out. So it could be Steve. You could be right, because the Steve and Nancy thing is going on. But there's also what's his name? What's the brother's name? Jonathan.
Yeah.
There's him too. There's a lot of.
I'm going to throw one more out here, right? And you tell me whether you think this one's a possibility at all. Okay? And
I
it's
think they
one
all
that
are possible.
well, no, well, it's one that we haven't even talked about yet, and it's a main character that's been around since the beginning. Do you think that there's a chance that they're going to kill Joyce Byers, mom?
This is so. No, but here, well, yeah, no, maybe in season 5. But here's the thing, I so I'll say this right now: when Hopper at the end of season 3, when Hopper vanishes, I
Mhm.
said to Andrew Fantasia, friend of the channel, I said he's not dead, and Andrew said I hope he's dead because I hate it when people come back from the dead. I'm like, but I don't think he died. I think he, and I said I think he went to the upside down. That's what I thought. And then when they showed that he just kind of like jumped out of the way, I was
He
like, well,
landed
this
on a
is,
ledge, on a lower ledge.
yeah, I'm like, this is done. Like for me in my mind, I'm like, he's in the upside down for like however long it's been since that season came out. He's in the upside down. Then I'm like, well, that's kind of for me. Then I saw that I go, I agree with Andrew now. He should have just died. This is stupid. And then he was there the whole time and thing, and his storyline was okay. I thought it was okay. It didn't. I like Hopper. I think Hopper's a great character, but this season I'm like, it's like he's there because he has to be there. And there's a Demigorgon, fine.
Well, they
And
set
then
up on the Demogorgon at the end of last season 3, though, right? That the Russians had a Demogorgon.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. But I'm just saying for this story, I'm like, fine, whatever. No, but they have to fight them. I'm like, fine, whatever. And then Joyce is like, oh, he's alive. I'm like, okay, fine. And I thought her and the what's his face were good. I thought they were funny. They were a good like comedic couple.
Mhm.
But then it's like while they're drinking the tea, I turned to Aaron and I said, are they getting poisoned right now? And I'm like, oh, they're getting okay. The whole thing just felt like they're there because they had to be there. And I feel like just killing any of them off is just like just to get them out of the way because you don't need them. I so I it's a possibility. I think it's more impactful if Will's the one to go, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't take away from season 1. It has to be in a way that enhances season 1. Do you know what I mean? Where
Mhm.
it takes the events, which they've kind of done with Vecna. So yeah, it's like season 1 did this with Will, and so Will has to be like the reason why, and maybe they wait for season 5, but Will's like the reason why this crap keeps happening is because of me, because I have a connection, blah blah blah. I gotta go. Goodbye, Mike. I love you. Goodbye.
What is that? An explosion? There you go. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I spoke with somebody at work recently about Joyce and whether he thought that the Joyce would die, and his main reason why he thought that Joyce wouldn't die is that there's if she dies and there's no mom to take care of the kids, it's going to die 98% chance. Oh, I mean, I hope he doesn't, but it could be. But the reason why he said that was because of that. But at the same time, I'm thinking it's like, well, Hopper's coming back, right? So if she plays mom to Elle, I mean, Hopper, I would think would be go back to becoming Elle's guardian, right? And then 2, they were also setting up this storyline with Jonathan earlier in the season about college and whether he was going to go to college, whether he was going to go to college with Nancy or so forth. A really big way that you could resolve that storyline about college for Jonathan is simply by, if Joyce dies, who's going to take care of Will, right? If Joyce is dead, who's going to take care of Will? And I think that might lead to Jonathan becoming his guardian and becoming his, father figure. Because the other option is Will and Jonathan's biological father, and they've already kind of resolved in previous seasons that he's a bit of a scumbag. So that's what I could see. I could see that if Joyce were to die, the resolution would be that Jonathan would then become Will's guardian, legal guardian.
Yeah, but why does Joyce die?
Why does this? Well, I mean, bringing Hopper back in some type of way as well. I mean, I think that even
You
though they
think she's
got
gonna
out of,
just die in Russia?
I think she could die in Russia. Yes. I think that she could die because I think somebody's going to die still in Russia. the characters that we have. And it would be easy to just say, Yuri is gonna die in Russia, right? The Demogorgon's gonna kill Yuri, or Enzo slash Dimitri. He could die in Russia still while they're getting getting away
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
Demogorgon. That could be an easy one. However, I could also see it possibly being Joyce. That does not make it out of there.
I see. I kind of just thought, and this was me. Hold on. That that they were all just going to head back to
Immediately
Hawkins.
afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, because that like the whole thing felt like.
It could be.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because the Russia storyline just feels like it's there just to get them back, to get them all something to do until they get back to Hawkins. And I hope you're right. I hope there is a consequence to that storyline. I really do.
Yeah, and well, I think, I suppose they could just have the Demogorgon just get out of Russia, and that's it. He's just running in the hills of Russia and stuff like that. But I kind of feel like that's going to get resolved beforehand. And I mean, you were mentioning it in general, right? About what's going to happen with the Upside Down. I could very much see that the end of this season is the fact that the Upside Down is coming to our world now. It's a direct breach is open, and now suddenly the Upside Down is flooding into our world, into the regular down.
That's true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Like, that's one I could very much see that could happen. And in that case, maybe the Demogorgon stays alive, and simple as that, and they just get on the first plane out of Russia.
I gotta bring our good friend Scotty Hawken here. He's in the chat. And
totally
I'm like, you can't just be in the chat. I just sent him the link on Facebook. Rob's like, oh, you're stealing my thunder. Rob, finish your thought.
No, I wanted to run it by you guys because it's a lot to explain. There's scenes where they're in the flashbacks and they're in the room and they're on the Plinko board or playing chess. Yeah. And one mentions a song his father really likes. It's like Dream a Little Dream of Me, something like that. I think, and it's just a crazy theory I have, and I love it, that Eddie Munson, when he pulls the guitar off the wall and he's jamming on top of the RV or whatever it is, he's playing a version of that song, and it's going to unlock something in one's brain again and pull him out of the Vecna curse or whatever it is. So I'm kind of going hopeful with it. I know there's rumors of like it not being so hopeful, but I don't know, just something about the music being key to protecting people when they're in there. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's a definite possibility. I mean, the only thing that would make me think about one is that he was, before he even became Vecna, right? He was already a twisted human being, right? He was very twisted beforehand. He was already snapping his mother's, limbs, just like he was there. So I mean, even if it was to pull him out of, the Upside Down, I could still see him. He's going to be a
still
definite. He's an antagonist. Either way, I see him.
Respect that.
Yeah, but that's a good point though, Scotty. Is like I think bad things can happen, but I feel like they're gonna defeat Vecna in this season, right? Because they seem to, whatever the threat is that season, they get past that threat, and then the next season there's a bigger one. And so they might not, because next season's the last season, so maybe they carry this on. But if they are going to defeat Vecna, it feels like it's going to have to be through music. And music might not be what defeats him, but it might be what, to your point, Scott, it might be what weakens him. But they've got to figure out what that song is.
It's probably going to be him just playing her song again, because she's like, isn't she the only one that's kind of afflicted to the point where nobody else is at this point, because they're all in the Upside Down, but no one else is really seeing visions or going to get floated up and snapped to pieces, really?
Well, I mean, Nancy's a possibility right now.
Okay,
because
yeah,
she's been untouched
towards the
yet.
end of the season. She started seeing the visions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're playing off of her guilt on Barb's death.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
seeing that.
I thought that was brilliant, by the way.
Yes.
I thought they played that because everyone was like, justice for Barb, and they didn't really
Okay,
touch on
so
it.
do you think we're gonna see Bob? Do you think that you think he could be used
Oh, Bob.
against? Do you think he
Nancy.
could be
Oh,
used
there you go,
against?
Rob.
Bob, yeah. I mean, I guess that
Justice for Bob.
if Joyce does make it out of Russia and makes it back over there,
Mm-hmm.
Vecna could.
Then he starts
Joyce
reaching
could be,
into her.
Yeah, Joyce could very easily become a victim of Vecna, or a possibility. I mean, in general, I do think that Vecna is probably going to be done with at the end of season 4, but I also kind of hope that he isn't, because
It's
I
not
think,
over after the season, right? There's like
no, yeah, there's
okay.
a season 5 coming, yeah.
Okay.
And one of the big reasons why I think season 4 is the best is partially because I think that we finally had in Stranger Things like a really great villain like Vecna. Because, we've had the Demogorgon in season 1 and sort of Brenner in season 1. In season 2, we had the Demodogs a little bit, and, those are fun and stuff like that. And then season 3, we had that little, the fake mind flayer, right? The one,
Yeah.
the one that was being put together by people's bodies, right? And those are, good villains and stuff like that. But it's like Vecna is like a real like face to the villainy, right? Like a real person that it has a very compelling backstory and a very like good gimmick for the show. So I think those things combined have really helped it become as strong of a season as it is. So it kind of also makes me kind of want to see Vecna continue into season 5. However, I think that he's probably done.
I think so too. But the only thing that kind of makes me second guess him dying is his connection to 11. How he's kind of like that. He's number 1, and she kind of tossed him in there. But what did they say? What did they say? I can't remember exactly. So there's like the Mind Flayer was this, and Vecna's they call Vecna the General, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
3-star general. That's what Dustin called him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you go by that, what they're saying, the theory within the show, there's somebody above him. There is the big
He
bad.
said it was the Mind Flayer. That's what Dustin thinks. That it's
But
still
the Mind Flayer. So the Mind Flayer was
The Mind
a fake Mind
Flayer's-
Flayer?
The Mind Flayer is different than everything else. The Mind Flayer was the big cloud thing, right?
Yeah, that's the one that pulled his hooks into Will in season 2, right?
But
That
that
Will
was-
kept seeing.
So that was fake, you said, Rob, in season 2?
What's that?
That was fake in season 2, you said?
Well, no. Well, it was Will kept seeing the visions and stuff like that. He was still haunted from being in the Upside Down, and then so the Mind Flayer just got him and used him as his like puppet basically throughout most of the season, right? And and what's her?
So the Mind Flayer hasn't been
Mentioned.
in the show.
Yeah,
Recently.
only in the Upside Down and through like the visions. I was sorry when you meant the fake one. I was talking about season 3, and that was the one that was like the one that was created with like people's bodies, right? So it kind of got like a form in which it could be in the regular world, right? So it was.
So Mind Flayer, you mean the ones with like the heads that open up?
No, that's the Demogorgon. So like
Okay,
the Mind Flayer
right.
was the one
Mind
with
Flayer
like
is the smoke monster thing, right?
Yeah, it had like the
Yes.
spider legs and stuff.
And
like
that
was walking. And so
As we
forth.
think is above Vecna, potentially.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I believe what they said was like when it got out of Will eventually at the end of season 2 was that it went somewhere, and that was the whole reason as to why it was getting a form in terms of those bodies in season 3, like coming together and becoming like a living version, and then ultimately gets how does he get destroyed? He gets destroyed with like fireworks or something like that, I think, at the end of season 3.
Yeah.
In the mall, and that was after.
And that's who killed
11
Billy.
loses her powers. Yeah, and that's who killed Billy. Yes.
It's all coming back. Yo,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys already talked about it, but when they were going over the Vecna backstory, I was like, oh, that's Anakin. He is dark. He's going to the dark side like right now.
Yeah.
I thought honestly though, I thought they did that very well on this show.
Yeah.
Like I was like, because while it's happening, I'm like, who is this guy? Like this character. I'm like, why is this guy? And then as when I'm like, oh my god.
Like
is
right
he
before
going
it
to be-
happened, I turned and I was like, is that one? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, you
Kept having those stories about one.
Very
Yeah,
good.
because I remember being like, "Why isn't there one? Where's one? Like, there's
Mhm.
two, one, and then one showed up, and then I was like, oh my god, is he Vecna?" And it became Vecna. I was like, they're good at tying this stuff together. Like they know, like whatever happens in the next 2 episodes are going to affect the 5th season. I think in a big way.
Mhm.
I think I think the one thing this season did better than any other season, and like I said, I think personally still until I rewatch them all, whatever, blah blah blah, or the end or the next 2 episodes, I think season 3 might still be my favorite and maybe, in my opinion, the strongest. But they did in this season better than any other is the lore, right? They've established that lore so well, and they've let us know so much more about what's going on, especially in Hawkins. Like they've kind of, I think season 1 they just kind of had fun, and now they've like, well, why did we have fun? And they've really figured that out, and I think that's genius. And so I think whatever happens in the next 4 hours of this show, I think season 5 is going to. It's good. Apparently, the Netflix execs cried when they pitched season 5. I think season 5 is going to be potentially the best season because of how connected the Duffer Brothers are now to their own universe.
Yeah, everyone's feeling the inspiration behind the show. Like, there's a lot. Love this show. I'm gonna let you guys get back to it. I just wanted to kind of
Well, I gotta ask you, man, before because
yeah.
we were talking about deaths. Like, who do you think is gonna die?
I think the people we mentioned, Nancy and Joyce, and the people who actually have been off the radar because they have not, because Vecna has not had a chance to grab them yet. And so I feel like because the kids have been kind of running around in the Upside Down and stuff, they're all kind of safe, for lack of a better word, because they're so close to Vecna. If he's not trying to and being able to overcome them at this point, he needs other leverage, basically. So I think anybody who has not been in the Upside Down or a part of it recently, Hopper, like I really am worried about him. I think that's inevitable that he's gonna be a sacrifice to save Elle, something that he would want for his character. Yeah, that'll be the biggest, like that's gonna make me cry, dude, if he doesn't pull through, because I feel like he deserves to at this point. Yeah,
I think he's gonna go. I think he'll go in season 5, but I think he's good until season 5.
I'm worried about everybody because I think it could take like
they all go.
If 5 is going to be a true like final season or something, like it could be nuts. Like this is the penultimate season, and they could just pull a Lost on us, maybe. Like I don't know, just go 180 a different direction.
I mean, the one I'd really be okay with dying if, like, somehow just Vecna spread out and got that bully, that one that was bullying the whole time.
Jock.
I'd be like, just get her. That's okay. I'll be happy. I'll actually give it a golf clap as it happens.
I'm trying to think.
I'd say anybody left from, is 11 the last one left from her group of, because 1 killed them all except 8's still around, Rob.
Yeah, what about the group of kids that just randomly appeared and now we have never heard from them again? In the van and stuff, and they all had those powers they were showing off.
We kind of talked about how that episode was received so poorly that they've just kind of let it go. But what if they're
just the modders? We're not going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, but what if they come together at the end and they form Voltron together?
Yo, yes. Every other show is doing it. Why not?
Yeah, why not? It could be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Scotty, before you go, are you going to stay up until whenever this thing drops? Or are you just going to watch it when you watch it?
Probably not. Unfortunately, going to have to watch it when I watch it. We were just talking about it. It's like, I'm out at 4:30 tomorrow. Can I stay off the internet until that? Like, it's going to be a lot. But I'm trying to go in spoiler free on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just hope that Argyle doesn't die.
Oh my God, yeah. Save Argyle. That guy, he's perfect too. Perfect.
I love what he's hitting on Susie's sister.
Yes. Classic. Dude, all the scenes where he's just like, he's not even no lines, but he's the best part of the entire scene. Just because of his expressions.
Well, even after the agent dies and like when he's reacting, he's just like, I'm gonna create a gravestone. He's like, oh, you want to create a gravestone for a
unmarked grave.
A marked grave for this guy?
He's coping, man.
Yes, exactly.
All right, fellas. I do gotta go. I appreciate it.
Go
Should
to
be
the
fun.
Hawks
Later.
Holocron YouTube channel. See ya. Thanks for joining us right now. I'm going to remove you now. Bam, you're gone. Rob, we should wrap it up. We've been going for quite some time now. Anything else you want to say about season 4 of Stranger Things?
Yeah, just in general, like that's my theory about Jason. I have a feeling he's gonna kill somebody in real life.
Yeah, I like that.
in
Dude. I
there.
like that.
And I think it's gonna be like, we've had a lot of like fake deaths, and they were all in such like supernatural type of situations. However, I think that could be like, the most real death. It's literally like one that just hits straight to home, where it's just like a guy who thinks somebody's just guilty straight up, just for just because he thinks it, and kills somebody as a result. So it's just like, it could be a very, and especially like, when you were talking about Steve protecting the kids, I mean, him just stepping in front of Lucas, I don't even want to think about it, but just, he's
Yeah,
going
no,
he's
that's
going
true.
he's
That's
going at
good.
Lucas, and Steve steps in between them, and that's it.
Yeah, I just, for me, the Steve, it's a definite possibility. But when they tweeted that out, I just felt like are you trying to guide us towards Steve, and then, but also protect.
I don't
Steve,
want Steve to ever go. Steve's my favorite character.
And it's funny because in season 1, he's the one that you wanted to go. But I think like the other thing too, though, to that point about the billboard, where it's like they're deflecting you, but also protect Steve at all costs. If what you just said could come to pass, where maybe he's the one who does the protecting, and that's what kills him. So we're gonna find out in like 10 hours. We're gonna know what goes on.
And if that happens, Jason becomes literally the most hated character on the show. As soon as that happens,
I think Jason will be the most. Let's play this game before we wrap up. Jason, I think, will be the most hated character by the end of the next 4 hours of Stranger Things. He will be the most hated character, but he will also die if he becomes the most hated character. If he doesn't, then I'm not going to say he's going to die. But if he does what you think he's going to do, he will die soon after. But or he will be everyone's favorite character in season 5. What do you think?
I think whatever happens, he's gonna have his little mini redemption story in season 5, in some type of way. He's gonna be kind of like, we already compared it to him. He could be the Billy. Like season 3 could be his mirror Billy's season 3 in some type of way. That I could very much see. But I also I think in general, those, like the parents, Mike's parents and Lucas's parents, and all those characters, they've been so in the dark for such a long time. I think they at least will find out about the Upside Down. They will be enlightened, because like whether the Upside Down actually comes out into our world or not, I think like they've hit such a precipice where it's like now these kids are running from the cops. They're being hunted by all these people. They're seemingly the villains of it all. Their side of it, like the truth that they know, is going to be something that a lot of other people are going to start to know as well.
We're going to find out. Rob, we should do a season 4 final recap show sometime, maybe Monday. You want to do it Monday?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea, man.
Manic Monday is coming. I can't wait. I love this show. I just think it's so well written. Acted. I just think it's a great show. It's so much fun. It's a fun show. At the end of the day, it's a fun show, and I hope they keep it. And you got it. Look, you got to kill some people off, but I hope they still have fun while they do it. Don't kill Dustin. I do think it's fun. Don't kill Steve.
I think he's the safest out of the kids. I literally think that he might be the safest one of them all.
You might be right. Of the kids, yeah, because I think we've talked about Mike and Will being gonzo. We talked about Lucas being gonzo.
More, yeah. Out of the main 4, at least, like the four boy kids, he's the one that's least likely. I think.
Yeah, he is. I think it was him, Lucas, and then Mike and Will might be toe and toe. I think they might be. I think Will might have the edge a little bit on Will, but I think they're pretty close because they both have the impact of their death could possibly affect the characters within the show almost the same. So there is a lot there. So yeah, I mean, because if Mike goes, then his sister and Will, and 11 and Will, then they have a thing. And if Will goes, then Mike and 11 and Joyce. So there's a lot going on. So whoever, those two are the ones that really have the biggest effect on the show as a whole, I think.
I just hope we get to watch. We'll see. I don't know how they would fit it in, but just have Steve and Robin watch a movie like either drunk or on drugs again, like they did when they were watching Back to the Future in season 3. That's pretty fun.
They should just make a spin-off about that.
Yes,
That
totally.
would be amazing.
Maybe Argyle can join in there too. He can just get them on the marijuana.
Argyle's the one that's going to supply the drugs. All right.
Yes.
Rob, tell everybody about your letterbox and stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on the letterbox at Nightwing with a 6 instead of a G. Yeah, I'm just constantly. I'm trying to catch up on some of the movies I haven't seen recently, but I've been stuck in TV show land, like rewatching Stranger Things. I'm starting to rewatch The Boys now again from the beginning because I'm loving that show so much. So yeah, I'm just stuck in TV land, but I'm going to catch up on movies soon too. So that will happen, and then also just at Robert E. McDonald, as you can see right there a little bit too. That's on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, and there you go. I might do a new rankings on my letterbox, Rob, which will blow people's minds.
What's the ranking going to be?
I haven't decided, but I think
best
for me, people, there you go. People, you can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm on Letterboxd as well as Petzafina, but I only review movies that I liked because I feel like I don't want to be negative. So if I like a movie, I'm going to review it. If I don't like it, it won't be on there. But also, there's movies that I forget to review also, so they're not ones that I don't like. But I only review movies, and I try to review movies, Rob, that are mostly like, I like this movie, but everybody else will hate it. Those are the movies that I go for. I go for my.
So you've definitely reviewed Skyfall so far, right?
Which one's Skyfall?
James Bond Skyfall.
Oh, James Bond. No, God, no. I reviewed. I hate that movie. I reviewed. Have I reviewed Street Fighter? Street Fighter movie. I think the Mortal Kombat movie I reviewed. I like them all. If it's a bad movie that I like, I reviewed it. But I also reviewed like good movies too. But mostly it's bad movies because I'm like, yeah, you know what? I like this movie, and you should know that I like this movie because I'm not a pretentious snob, and we're allowed to like things that aren't good.
I can't see a better way to end this video on than that.
All right, everyone, go follow Rob on Letterboxd. Stranger Things. We'll be back Monday to talk about that finale. Thanks everybody for watching. From Rob, from me, appreciate it. May you be the master of your own universe.